On this Friday night, the Canadian border, the migrants crossing over it, and the political ammunition they deliver. Conservatives say on this perceived national crisis, Canadians should be on their side, should trust their leader. We'll show you why that message may be cutting through. Also tonight, the U.S. president's intensifying war of words. Why Donald Trump believes calling the media the enemy of the people is a political winner, and why that could become more and more dangerous very soon. This is The National. If political campaigns are fought over a mixture of facts and perceptions, we might be getting a glimpse of one battleground in next year's federal election. The government has gone to great lengths to cast this country as a welcoming place, but illegal crossings at the U.S. border seem to have Canadians on edge, with the opposition seeing clear signs of a wedge. Here are the numbers in a new poll to set the table for you. 67% of Canadians surveyed call illegal border crossings a crisis. That's about 2/3, and about the same number believe there are just too many people for Canada to handle. More than half say this country is too generous to border crossers, and a big majority, 78% surveyed, say border security is important or a major priority. Not what the government of sunny ways wants to hear. Though, as the CBC's David Cochrane explains, the Liberals concede at least one thing: they've got a messaging problem.
I read the results of that poll myself.
Bill Blair may be losing the argument over the border, but he says it's not because of the facts.
It is important that we address many of the misconceptions and misinformation that Canadians have heard that quite frankly causes a fear not based on the reality, but a fear on the rhetoric.
Whether it's reality or rhetoric, the poll suggests the Liberals have a problem on their hands.
William Sterling Blair, Minister,
and it reveals why Bill Blair was moved into the specifically created Ministry of Border Security. The Liberals were losing this PR battle to the Conservatives, who trampled the argument that this is a challenge, not a crisis.
I think anytime you have a government that allows 30,000 people over the course of a short period of time to come into Canada illegally, the impact that has, that is a crisis. And Canadians have a crisis of confidence in their government right now.
The fact is that things are getting better at the border, not worse. The number of illegal border crossings is going down, but people are still coming and the costs keep climbing. Since early last year, Ottawa has spent at least $270 million to deal with the influx.
Ontarians are pro-immigration, but the current crisis has tested their patience.
The new Ontario Conservative government has joined their federal cousins in slamming Ottawa's response. And even though what's happening here is nowhere near a crisis in global terms, in domestic terms, it's definitely a political problem.
There's a real information gap here, and we have to do a better job in filling that gap.
It's a blow to the Trudeau government brand, which loudly sells Canada as a welcoming country. Trudeau famously wrapped Syrian refugees in new winter coats when they arrived here. But this poll also suggests more Canadians trust Andrew Scheer to get it right when it comes to people crossing the border than trust the Prime Minister. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
And that poll, by the way, was done online between July 25th and 30th. 1,500 people took part, and there is a margin of error of plus or minus 2.5 percentage points 19 times out of 20. That's the fine print. Now, you heard David say illegal crossings are going down. So let's look at a snapshot over time. The numbers spiked dramatically last summer as the Trump administration clamped down on U.S. borders. It reached a high of more than 5,300 in the month of September. Since then, the trend has been down. The number fell from 2,700 this April to 2,200 in May to 1,200 in June. Okay, let's take a look at what else we're working on tonight. Could police in Montreal have done more to help this Inuk woman? She was far from home receiving medical care, then she disappeared for nearly a week. In Yemen, there is a desperate plea for a ceasefire, one that could make all the difference in staving off a deadly epidemic. First, though, the continuing war of words between the U.S. president and one of his favorite punching bags, the mainstream media. Donald Trump is actually just starting a 10-day vacation. But on his way out the door, he took a few parting shots, calling the media disgusting and, you guessed it, fake. These are words he's used time and time again to rile up his base.
The president uses rhetoric that is sort of anti-media, and the crowd responds to that, and he knows that. But it certainly lately seems to be happening more and more.
Yeah, it happened at that rally yesterday in Pennsylvania. The crowd loved it, and as Keith Bogue tells us, with midterm elections coming, there may be many more such attacks to come.
God bless the USA.
Donald Trump surrounded himself with the sounds and symbols of patriotism last night, and his adoring crowd ate it up.
Thank you very much, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
But before long, he got to complaining that the greatness of his presidency was being deliberately undermined by the investigation into Russian interference in the last election.
Now we're being hindered by the Russian hoax. It's a hoax.
Complicit in the imagined hoax is the media, of course.
They can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
But it was just yesterday that Trump's own security officials said, and not for the first time, Russian interference was not a hoax.
It is real. It is continuing.
Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates and 4 other members of the Trump National Security Team gave a rare press briefing that directly contradicts Trump's line.
We continue to see a pervasive messaging campaign by Russia to try to weaken and divide the United States.
There's little doubt the United States is divided right now, and to a great extent, that's because of the Trump presidency. He's taking up a lot of space in people's lives, and they find they either love him deeply or hate him deeply. That's at least partly because the president has encouraged people to believe much of the media is fake and the enemy of the people.
You know, CNN, fake news, MSNBC, that's really the enemy of the people.
Hi, everyone.
Trump's daughter, Ivanka, publicly disagreed with him about that yesterday.
No, I do not feel that the media is the enemy of the people.
Her father tweeted that she was correct. The media are not the enemy of the people, just a large percentage of them are. In the past, he's identified some enemies as the New York Times, NBC, ABC, CBS, and CNN. Trump's encouragement of distrust of media likely led to his supporters hurling abuse at reporter Jim Acosta as he was trying to do a report for CNN Tuesday night in Florida.
They're saying things like CNN sucks, go home, and fake news. Wolf, obviously, all of those things are false. Flicking someone off like they did with Jim Acosta, that's not violence. That's just flicking someone off.
In any event, expect more. As the November elections draw closer, Trump is increasing the number of rallies he does, and that seems to mean stepping up his attacks on the media, too.
And Keith joins us to talk more about this because, Keith, it can be hard to cut through all the noise. Are journalists in the U.S. genuinely afraid for their safety?
Well, journalists definitely feel under threat and abused, as though the politics of our times has licensed people to attack them. Over the last couple of years, they've been roughed up and pushed around. You'll remember that in 2017, a Republican candidate running in Montana even body slammed a reporter who asked him a question.
Right. And so, as you say, as we get closer to midterms, things could get worse.
Correct. This is a much more violent country than Canada. We regularly see murder in public places, and often it's motivated by hatred. So when Trump tells people that the media are the enemy of the country they say they love, he's playing with fire.
Keith Bogue in Washington, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Playing with fire, not a bad way to describe one burgeoning group of fringe Trump supporters that's attracting a fair bit of attention right now. You can recognize them by those Qs, meaning they support a conspiracy theory referred to as QAnon. It's bizarre, far-fetched, and as Stephen D'Souza tells us, starting to gain traction.
You could spot them at Donald Trump rallies this week, holding signs, wearing T-shirts, all with the letter Q. Supporters of a conspiracy theory now emerging from a shadowy corner of the internet into the mainstream.
People who showed up last night in these QAnon and black...
Suddenly, questions about QAnon, as it's known, were being asked at the White House.
The president condemns and denounces any group that would incite violence against another individual.
It began in October. A person or group of people claiming to have top-secret government clearance began posting on message boards, leaving so-called breadcrumbs, clues to a vast conspiracy involving the deep state, a global ring of pedophiles, and more. But experts say there's a twist. Instead of framing the entire government as the enemy, in QAnon's story, Trump is the hero.
So the theory is that Trump is our savior, that everything we know about him is at least somewhat wrong, if not completely wrong, that he has appointed Mueller not to investigate Russian interference in the election, but instead a satanic cult.
QAnon enthusiasts count Roseanne Barr among their ranks and often talk of a coming storm, a reference possibly to this cryptic statement Trump made during a dinner with military leadership. So, what is the storm?
An arrest of all of the bad actors, which includes all of the important Democrats of the last decade, including Clinton and Obama, as well as some Republicans.
While it may be easy to dismiss it all as online fantasy, it's crossing over to the real world. Fenster says conspiracy theories have always been a part of American history, but this president is different.
Trump has given permission for conspiracy theories in ways that you don't see in mainstream politicians.
In our intelligence agencies.
So what was likely a technical glitch to QAnon proponents is a sign that with Donald Trump, there's much more than meets the eye. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Turning now to one of the world's deadliest conflicts. For years, millions of people in Yemen have been caught between warring factions. And even when not directly in the line of fire, they're at risk of starvation and disease. It is a country disintegrating into chaos. Hard to overstate just how grim the situation is, but also how little understood it is to outsiders. Because Yemen is not just a country at war with itself. It is a battleground between two regional heavyweights vying for dominance. Here's a brief look at how it all started. The seeds of the current crisis were planted during the Arab Spring of 2011. It brought political upheaval across the Middle East. In Yemen, that meant a new leader. But Abdurabu Mansour Hadi, a Sunni Muslim, struggled to control militant violence, starvation, and corruption. By 2014, an opposing group, a Shia Houthi rebel movement, backed by Iran and opposed to Saudi and Western influence, seized huge chunks of the country. Hadi appealed to Sunni Saudi Arabia for support and got it. Within a year, Saudi Arabia launched a military offensive, delivering devastating airstrikes thanks to high-tech fighter jets from the West. Iran responded, pouring military resources into Houthi-controlled Yemen. So today, what began as an internal conflict drags on as a proxy war between the region's two strongest powers. But as Iran fights Saudi Arabia for supremacy, it is ordinary Yemenis caught in the crossfire. And the suffering continues after new airstrikes killed dozens and caused major damage in a key port city. That's where 70% of desperately needed relief supplies enter the country. And as Katie Simpson tells us, aid groups are warning another devastating cholera epidemic could be just around the corner.
A desperate rush to save the injured on the streets of Hodeidah. Saudi and UAE forces are being blamed for airstrikes in the rebel-held city, the country's main point of entry for badly needed food and aid. The escalation of violence in the peak of summer is triggering a blunt demand from the World Health Organization.
For 3 full days of tranquility to lay down arms and allow us to vaccinate the civilian population for cholera.
If it is too unsafe for aid workers to take preventative measures to stop the spread of cholera, Yemen may once again be seized by an epidemic. A resurgence of the infectious disease would be devastating, as years of malnutrition makes the population extremely vulnerable.
and not only more cases because of that, but even higher death rates among the cholera cases that do occur because people just don't have the physical resources to fight the disease any longer.
It's not an exaggeration to say that the humanitarian situation across the country is catastrophic.
The UN calls this conflict the world's largest humanitarian disaster. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, while millions have been displaced. And the fighting between the Houthi rebels backed by Iran and the government supported by Saudi Arabia has been intensifying.
More than 80% of the population in Yemen is in need of some kind of aid. And 4 years into the war, the situation is getting worse.
The UN is building on calls for a temporary truce in the hopes of getting closer to a permanent peace.
We urge the parties to resolve this conflict through negotiation rather than through military means.
All sides in the conflict are invited to Geneva for high-level meetings in September. But that is little comfort for civilians on the ground who struggle to survive in the most devastating conditions. Katie Simpson, CBC News, London.
There is a twist tonight in a developing story in Alberta, the shooting of a German tourist. It happened yesterday on a highway northwest of Calgary near Morley. Carolyn Dunn is in Calgary, joins us now. So Carolyn, what's the latest?
Well, a lot, actually. Police initially believed that this was an incident of road rage, but not anymore. In fact, the information that they've gathered suggests that it was not only not road rage, that it was not random. And further, the German tourists who were driving in a Dodge Durango were not actually the targets of the shooting. So the obvious questions that come to mind after that is, was this a case of mistaken identity, or perhaps someone else in a similar type car was the target? These are questions that we hope the police will be able to answer, as their investigation continues.
Right, and are police saying much more about the investigation itself?
Yeah, well, as a result of tips and intelligence gathered, RCMP seized a black Chrysler Sebring at a residence in Cochrane, Alberta today. They also detained an adult male, and he is not considered a suspect at this point, although his role or lack of role is being investigated. And just an update on the victim in this case, Andrew, the German gentleman, 60 years old, underwent emergency surgery last night to remove a small caliber bullet from his head, and he remains in critical but stable condition.
Okay, Carolyn Dunn in Calgary, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay, some of the other developing stories we are tracking tonight include a call for crews around the world to come help fight wildfires in British Columbia. There are nearly 450 wildfires burning right now in BC, many of which were started this week by a series of lightning storms. According to the province, firefighters from Mexico and as far away as New Zealand are expected to arrive soon. And we are keeping an eye on Lynchburg, Virginia, where heavy rains put an aging dam at risk of collapse. Late last night, authorities warned that if the dam failed, it could send more than 5 meters of water rushing through the city in just 7 minutes. More than 100 homes were evacuated just to be safe. But tonight, we are hearing the situation is improving and they've stabilized the dam for now. Lots more still to come here on The National. An Inuk woman who was receiving medical care in Montreal finds herself in police custody, and it's what happened next that's raising some serious questions. Also, what's next for Zimbabwe? The so-called crocodile is that country's newly elected president, but the aftermath has been tense. And we'll take you inside a summer camp in Toronto, teaching young black students the history they don't get in school.
I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud.
These are the first beadwork I did. I didn't know anything about beadwork. So I went ahead and made my own, and they're still pretty solid. So I did an alright job, I guess. Everybody needs a two-spirit in their family. And that makes it even more sacred because it completes the circle of male and female. Even for myself, sometimes I'm reminded by elders that I have to acknowledge my male spirit too, not only the female, even though the female is an important role in my life. Yeah, and I got my spirit name too. I name it Makwa, that's dancing bear, and that's what I love doing is dancing, so it really suits me. There's a lot more to putting on regalia and deciding you're gonna go dance, because it's really sacred for me. This dress that I wear, it's a sacred healing dance, which was been around for centuries already, I guess, and you get healing out of it. You have to always go with your heart, what's right in your heart. If you feel it's right, go ahead and do it. If you think it's wrong, then don't do it. That's what my grandmother used to tell me. Because I'd ask her questions and she says, well, what do you think? How do you feel in your heart? Is it right or is it wrong? I don't know, I guess it's right. Okay, well, if it's right, we'll go ahead. If it's wrong, you'll find out. Here, it's really well accepting. Like, people don't judge you for who you are, your gender. It's the way you carry yourself and the sacredness that you're carrying. And people can see that, people can tell. So I'll be there dancing. I'll dance with my people.
The disturbing story of an Inuk woman in Montreal is raising long-standing concerns about the treatment of people from the north who come south for medical care. The woman was removed by police from a rehabilitation center after an incident involving alcohol. But upon her release at midnight, instead of bringing her back to the rehab center, police gave her a bus ticket and left her to fend for herself. She doesn't speak English nor French, and she disappeared for 6 days. Jayla Bernstein picks up the story.
Tonight, Mina Ikwasiak Akuliak is resting here at an Inuit Health Resource Center on Montreal's West Island.
Mina is doing well, and she'll be going home tomorrow. Very good news. So she's well enough to go home now.
While Akuliak returns home to her community in Nunavik in northern Quebec, she's leaving behind questions about how she went missing for nearly a week after being released from police custody.
I thought it was very sad and, to be honest, unacceptable.
Harsh words from the mayor of Montreal, who says it's time for police to take a closer look at their procedures. What is still not clear is why, in the middle of the night, Akuliak was sent off on her own from this police station, far from the city core, rather than being escorted back to this center, where she had been recovering from broken ribs and a broken arm after she was hit by a police vehicle in her hometown.
Of course, we follow up with the police to see what's going on.
And as far as this specific case is concerned, you can't say if that happened or not.
We don't comment specific case.
He says they always do what they can to keep their patients safe and give them the best care possible. Police had no comment today, though an Aboriginal liaison officer did meet with Akuliak here today.
It's not so much what's wrong, but what could be improved.
Maggie Pudulik says she hopes the case will be a lesson to all stakeholders, including the city's police.
I believe we're moving towards a better relationship with the other stations of SPVM, following the story of Mina gone missing.
Pudulik says the one good thing to come out of all of this is that there are now plans for her to provide sensitivity training across Montreal's police force, an idea she thinks will be helpful in cities across Canada. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
We want to clarify a point in a story we brought you last night about patient portals in Alberta. The Alberta Health Services Connect Care website has not been delayed. It's scheduled to begin rolling out next year. Okay, ahead tonight on The National. Why would a grown man dress up as a radish to commute to work? He has his reasons. That is our moment of the day. First, though, an inside look at a summer school run by Black Lives Matter Toronto, teaching Black children to envision a positive future.
We want to sit back and listen to, if you got to create a world for Black people, what would it be like?
So we want it to be in where?
Zimbabwe.
Okay, so Zimbabwe. Years in the future, start with that. Years in the future.
Brenda Rochford has lived most of her 39 years in pain. She was born with an extremely rare disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Basically, it makes everything very weak and fragile. My joints are dislocate easily, my skin rips easily. I'm very weak, muscular-wise.
She's been prescribed all kinds of painkillers for her illness, but the drug that gives her the most relief is marijuana.
Can you describe the difference that the pot made, the change?
I wasn't getting muscle spasms as often, near as often, maybe once a week instead of daily. Not near as severe, or the length of period wouldn't be as long. My joint pain doesn't seem to hurt as much. I have arthritis. That doesn't seem to flare up as much when I smoked. It helps me mentally. It gives me the ability to cope with each day, because I never know what each day is going to be like.
For hundreds of years, the medicinal qualities of marijuana were well recognized. The drug was recommended for everything from menstrual cramps to epileptic seizures, migraines to insomnia. In fact, based on the overwhelming anecdotal evidence, marijuana was included in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, the North American Bible of accepted drugs. Then, in 1941, it was taken out, following an intense campaign by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Narcotics to make it not only illegal, but evil. It worked. Ever since, marijuana, or cannabis, has become the evil weed, and users, criminals.
What we know about cannabis and its usefulness is just the tip of the iceberg.
Dr. Lester Grinspoon is a professor of psychiatry at Harvard. He's written several books advocating the medicinal uses of marijuana.
Doctors have been both victims and agents of the government disinformation campaign on marijuana, and many of them still believe such hoary myths that marijuana, for example, is addictive. So it's going to take time to educate doctors, but they are getting educated.
People who smoke cannabis on their own prescription are really not a good model for the medical use of cannabis.
Dr. Harold Callant is a pharmacologist at the University of Toronto and a contributor to a recent report by the World Health Organization on the health effects of cannabis use.
I can't accept anecdotal evidence by untrained observers who may have other motives for wanting to say that it's good. I can't accept that as proof that it is really effective therapy.
But supposing it's only one person in 100, why, given the fact that the toxicity of this drug is so limited, why shouldn't that person be able to use it?
What are some of the accepted uses of cannabis?
The two that are official, for which there is approval, are for the relief of nausea and vomiting caused by cancer chemotherapy.
So on your orange paper, you're going to think of the characters who you want to be prominent in your story. Remember to include yourself.
Not all students are spending their summer break sleeping in and playing with friends. Tonight, we want to show you a special program run by Black Lives Matter Toronto. For 3 weeks, a group of kids aged 4 to 10 are taught the history they don't get in public school. They learn about Black resistance, Black liberation, and self-love. Tonight on The National, Toronto filmmaker Lou Asfaha takes us up close in the CBC short doc, Freedom Summer.
I don't know, if anyone's, destined to be a leader, but yeah, I could definitely become a leader, yeah. And I'm going to the Black Lives Matter camp. I'll be a youth leader there, which means I'll be helping the regular leaders with teaching the kids how to go around the camp and some of the activities. I haven't ever gone to Black Lives Matter camp. I've been to some of their like events and stuff, but like I've never actually been in the camp.
Thanks everyone for being patient for the bus. First, maybe we can just go around and say our name so we can get to know each other, and then we can do our opening activities that we do every day. My name is Leroy. I'm the coordinator of Freedom School, and I work in the serving the people in the big kids room, the Freedom Fighter room. It has to do with the quality of education that our kids receive. This is Nodine.
My name is Jabari. My name is Hawa.
Talking to parents and being a parent myself and being an educator as well in the system, we notice that Black kids often don't get a chance to learn very much about ourselves and our histories and our culture at all. And when we do, we most often learn about enslavement and oppression. We are deeply inspired in the work that we do here by the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense and the school that they created called the Oakland Community School. And in their party, they had a 10-party platform where they had 10 things that they believed in to lift up Black people. So we have a kids version of the 10-point platform that we say to remind us of our purpose. Moon.
We want land.
We want land.
Bread.
Bread.
Housing.
Education.
Having arrived at 13 for Moon and be witnessing him going through 13, it's so important to have a space where he can lead while learning, because developing your autonomy, developing your sense of self, those things are important. And so to be in a space that will nurture that, but also challenge irresponsibility, and also challenge a lack of empathy and challenge a lack of compassion, and to challenge that in a gentle and supportive way. I think that's healthy. That's how we grow. So I really am excited at this journey for him.
So on your orange paper, you're gonna think of the characters who you want to be prominent in your story. Remember to include yourself. So we're talking about respecting the power that kids have to envision another world and to envision a future that could be different for Black people. They're watching a lot of really violent things happen to their communities and their people. We want to sit back and listen to, if you got to create a world for Black people, what would it be like? How would you solve your problems? If it's not with police, how would it be? If it's not with prisons, how would it be?
So you want it to be in where?
Zimbabwe.
Okay, so Zimbabwe. Years in the future, start with that. Years in the future. A young Black boy, which is you. Z. I.
You guys can describe maybe what Zimbabwe looks like in the future.
Okay. En route, Zimbabwe of prisons, which made the land absolutely stunning. A young Black boy will rise from the ashes and take down the system. That's how I was gonna do.
Just like that.
Yep. With a flash of light. No, a flash of dark, yes.
Ooh.
Your mom taught you how to draw?
Because she's an artist.
That's your color, right?
How often do you learn about Black people in your school?
Well, they really don't talk about Black people in that school. Because that's a white people's school.
Más que todo por eso, porque quería que aprendiera más de su cultura. Hubo un tiempo que estaba como que no se aceptaba mucho su color de piel. Entonces, eso fue una de las grandes razones que dije, dejémosla ahí para que aprenda un poco más. Básicamente fue eso.
I'm Black and I'm proud! I'm Black and I'm proud! Come inside, let's see this.
I think there needs to be a massive overhaul of the education system where it's self-determined and we get to decide what our kids are going to learn, how they're going to be engaged, and who's going to be in the classroom with them. We need to be in the classroom with them. Parents need to be in the classroom with them.
Every other day, how'd it get this way? Living just a living, but motivated for days. What's the hype anyway? Vision's hella gritty, can't see it through the haze. Can't see it through my rays, and even when I take them off, everything seems gray. Everything's in grayscale. Everything's in grayscale. They learned a lot about Black liberation. They were really engaged in the programming that we were doing. They were really comfortable. It felt like a family that we built over the 3 weeks that we were together.
What you just saw there was a version of Freedom Summer that's been shortened. For the full film, head on over to cbc.ca/shortdocs. There you'll also find a whole bunch of other documentaries by emerging filmmakers from right across Canada. And up next on The National, would you want to watch your favorite podcast on TV? Television's big play and what it really takes to make it, coming up.
You don't want this straw, or you're getting a wedgie from Shaq. We were definitely naive at first. We thought we could take a podcast and just put on some cameras and make a television show, and we quickly learned that just does not work.
First, though, pop star Lady Gaga says it's time to drag mental health issues out of the shadows. Her plea comes after the apparent suicide of the Canadian model and artist known to the world as Zombie Boy.
I got my first tattoo, this one right here, when I was 16. It's skull and crossbones, pirates. It's pretty cool.
Rick Genet said he was just 15 years old when he was diagnosed with a brain tumor that could have left him dead or disfigured. He decided to live life on his own terms and turn his body into a constantly evolving work of art. His face was transfigured before he turned 21. The fashion world soon came calling, drawn to his meticulous artifice. And in 2011, he shot to fame with his featured role in Lady Gaga's smash video, Born This Way.
Give yourself prudence and love your friends. Subway kid, rejoice the truth. In the religion of the insecure, I must be myself, respect my youth.
Genet's stated goal was to be a freak. To embrace a look like this, he wrote, you can't care what people think. Ironically enough, his outsider look is what drove his success. He even became the face of a makeup concealer brand. He found fame and glamorous friends. And now his sudden death has one of them speaking out. Lady Gaga called his suicide beyond devastating. We have to work harder to change the culture, bring mental health to the forefront, and erase the stigma that we can't talk about it. We must save each other. Rick Genet was 32 years old.
What does it feel like to be on marijuana?
It's almost like being intoxicated. You feel, mellow, laid back. You feel, you could get dizzy and stuff like that.
How old do you have to be to start smoking weed and stuff like that?
You'd have to be 18 years of age.
Is it more dangerous to drive drunk or drive high?
If you're impaired and it's affecting your driving, it would be the exact same.
Can you overdose on marijuana?
In order to overdose, you would have to smoke or take in a crazy amount of marijuana. It's almost impossible to overdose on marijuana.
If you're babysitting and there's weed on the counter and that kid eats it, do you think it's an emergency?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
So if you actually see that, then I would call 911. It's best to get the emergency there. I'm not saying they're going to die or anything. I don't know that, but I would definitely call 911 just to be on the safe side.
What's the difference between THC? What's the difference between THC and CBD?
THC would get a person high. THC has it's usually by percentage, and the higher the THC level in the cannabis, the quicker and the faster you would get high. CBD does not show any signs that it would give make a person high or whatever. It actually could lower and block the THC level in the marijuana.
Can it give you a disease or something?
Cannabis can still have the same effects that cigarettes and tobacco have on a person. The more you use it, the higher chance you could get cancer or other diseases from that. The truth. Just always tell them the truth. Don't ever try to hide something, and sit down talk with them and share with them what your beliefs are. Tell them to get the facts as much as you can and make the right choices.
Surprise, I brought lunch. What are you doing?
Nothing.
What we have been able to answer are the questions of who, what, when, where, and how. What we have not been able to definitively answer is the why Stephen Paddock committed this act.
Tonight on The National, a key question left unanswered as Las Vegas police closed their investigation into last year's shooting massacre. They say the gunman had become increasingly unstable and had lost a lot of money before the attack. But in their final report, police say they still can't explain why he did it. He was the only gunman and he left no note. 58 people were killed and more than 800 others were hurt in the attack. Disgraced Hollywood movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is trying to get sex assault charges against him thrown out. In a motion filed today, his lawyers argue that emails sent to him by one of his alleged victims after he is alleged to have raped her are evidence of consent. The grand jury that convicted Weinstein did not know about the emails. There's no relief in sight for southern Europe as an ongoing heat wave tightens its grip. In Portugal today, it got so hot that 8 places broke their all-time records. Temperatures hit around 45 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, in neighboring Spain, at least 2 deaths are being linked to the heat. Widespread warnings are in place as temperatures are expected to climb this weekend. And some news tonight for Aeroplan points collectors. The loyalty program's parent company, Amia, says it struck a deal with Porter Airlines. Starting in July 2020, you'll be able to collect points if you fly with that airline, and you'll be able to use points to book Porter tickets. Now, 2020 is when Aeroplan's contract with Air Canada expires. A group led by Air Canada had been trying to buy the loyalty program, but talks fell through yesterday. A deal with that airline is still possible, though. EMEA said today it's still open to negotiating. With the media landscape in constant flux, a new path to TV fame has emerged. Podcasts are leaping ahead in popularity, and you've probably heard broadcasters are in retreat. But for now, TV is still the bigger platform, and it's hungry for content. Eli Glasner looks at what might be the start of a beautiful friendship.
J.E. Skeets is a big basketball fan. So when the Toronto broadcasting student finished school, it was natural for him to launch a podcast with his friends.
Episode 342, November 14, 2008. A cookie has no soul.
The Basketball Jones brand of fan-friendly analysis started to catch on. Then they got the call of a lifetime.
Here's NBA TV calling and contacting us and going, hey, we like what you're doing up there. Would you be interested in coming down to Atlanta? Good evening, sweet world!
And so the Basketball Jones became The Starters, a daily TV show where Skeets...
You don't want this straw, or you're getting a wedgie from Shaq.
...interacts with idols in ways he never imagined.
Ready? Yeah, I'm ready. 1, 2...
The Starters are part of a new wave of podcasts moving from your phone to your TV. The confessional comedy of two dope queens started as a podcast. Now it's...
right here on HBO, straight after Game of Thrones.
We're not after Game of Thrones.
I'm Aaron Mankey. And this is Lore.
Lore, a podcast about disturbing folktales, is now on Amazon. That's just a few of the growing number of podcasts attempting the TV transition. Part of what's driving the trend is the explosive popularity of podcasts. 5 years ago, only 12% of Americans listened to podcasts monthly. Now it's up to 26%, an estimated 73 million listeners. In Canada, more than 7 million Canadians listen to podcasts at least once a month. And with millennials as the biggest portion of the audience, broadcasters are looking for ways to tap in.
All right, so here we are, our very humble podcast network studio.
I see it still needs a little work.
We are expanding rapidly, and startups focus not on the nice chairs, but on the work we're doing. You know.
Here at E1, it's not so much about how the recording room looks.
That's the beauty of the podcast.
But discovering new voices.
The industrial process of making TV and films in this country is so difficult, and I think what's the interesting opportunity about podcasting is that it allows us to build up authentic voices and authentic audiences for Canadian stars.
I don't think we believe every single one of the podcasts will translate, just like every book doesn't translate, but it is another avenue to find a point of view. And there are a few that we have in development that will translate.
Why should I invest in your podcast company? It's the Cadillac of podcast companies.
But not every podcast can manage the transition. Startup was a wildly popular podcast about Alex Bloomberg's attempt to set up his own company. But as Alex Incorporated, the comedy lacked Bloomberg's personal touch and was canceled after a single season. For J.E. Skeets, the TV learning curve was steep.
We were definitely naive at first. We thought we could take a podcast and just put on some cameras and make a television show, and we quickly learned that just does not work.
I fear this sandstorm to be quite a terrible event.
Which is exactly why, after theater tours and a book deal, Night Vale, a podcast about the stories in a strange small town, handed the entire pilot over to the showrunner from Better Call Saul to develop the TV show for the FX network.
My experience with television is that level of intimacy is a lot different. You know, it's a lot more plot-based. It's a lot more narrative and visual. And so we really do have to rely on people that know how to make those things.
If the Night Vale pilot is picked up, it'll reach more people than the podcast ever did. The question is whether podcasters can keep it personal as TV comes calling. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead tonight on The National. The situation on the ground in Zimbabwe this weekend is tense, to say the least. The new president has officially been elected, but the opposition says the vote was rigged. But first, a reminder to subscribe to our newsletter. The National Today takes you inside our journalism every afternoon and highlights some of the stories you may have missed. Today, it was the outrage in Russia over plans to raise the age for people to receive their pensions. The big problem, it's beyond the life expectancy for some in that country. Subscribe at cbcnews.ca/The National.
It's the modern symbol of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender movement, a colorful flag with every shade in the rainbow. There have been other symbols historically linked with the gay community, like the Greek letter lambda, used in science to show kinetic potential, and the pink triangle, imposed by the Nazis to identify gay men during the Holocaust. In the 1970s, a San Francisco artist named Gilbert Baker answered the call for a new and joyful symbol. He got together with friends at a community center where they hand-stitched and hand-dyed the very first rainbow flag in 1978. The original flag had 8 colors, each with a meaning: pink for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for magic, blue for serenity, and purple for spirit. As the flag became more popular, it went into mass production. Pink and turquoise were dropped because those colors and dyes were not common in the flag world. Gilbert Baker died in 2017, but his legacy is now flying around the world, a symbol of pride, community, and freedom. Neil Herland, CBC News, Toronto.
What do I like? I like open fires, moonlit nights, chatty letters, rainy days. I like daydreaming. I love this colorful little island of ruby, emerald, and sapphire. Yet often my dark moods come. I'm possessed body and soul by this depression. They say women shouldn't write. Some days I almost give up. But I cannot contain my imagination. I made Anne real. I gave her my love of nature, my love of books, and my childhood dreams. My greatest happiness would be to climb the alpine path and write upon it a woman's humble name.
Lucy Maud Montgomery battled depression, rejection, and sexism to become known around the world for Anne of Green Gables and 19 other novels.
I pledge to be the president of all Zimbabweans, a president of those that voted for me and those who did not.
The results of Zimbabwe's presidential election are in, but not everybody agrees with them. The 75-year-old winner has ties to the old regime of disgraced former leader Robert Mugabe, and critics are claiming the vote was rigged. European Union observers and the U.S. State Department are reviewing the results, but the main opposition candidate is rejecting them outright, and as Thomas Daigle explains, so are some of his supporters.
Well, it was quite a scene of chaos today in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, as journalists were waiting for a press conference to get underway with the opposition candidate, Nelson Chamisa, who election officials say lost this week's vote. Now, police wearing helmets and wielding batons and shields barged in, demanding reporters leave. They were yelling, "Get out, get out." Eventually, Chamisa's political party says they spoke with police and told them the event was not a political rally, and so the press conference was back on. Once he was able to speak, Chamisa claimed the results of the election are wrong, and this police intervention appears to just be further intimidation. Listen.
Today is a day of mourning. Mourning over democracy. It is a black day because we are seeing a repeat of what we saw during the yesteryear regime.
Interestingly, his party now refers to him as Mr. President. They firmly believe that the election was rigged for the long-ruling party ZANU-PF. The official winner of the election, President Emerson Mnangagwa, took to Twitter today, denouncing that police action, but also saying we won the election freely and fairly. The opposition says they are challenging the election results in court. They're fearful that they're seeing a repeat of the election rigging that was synonymous with the Robert Mugabe era that Zimbabwe endured over 4 decades. Thomas Dagler, CBC News, London.
And switching gears, our moment of the day is next. What happens when you take on a 2-hour commute dressed as a vegetable? We will meet a man embarrassing himself for a good cause.
Most people play it cool. It is Toronto area, you know, people usually kind of look at me, you know, just kind of subtly. I get a lot of people asking me if I'm a pepper, if I'm a strawberry. A lot of people are just really friendly and supportive. It's been great.
And remember, if you want to share the moment, you can always find it on our social media channels, on Facebook, on Twitter. We are also on Instagram. That's where we post some of the most powerful images of the day. You can find it all at CBC The National.
Have you ever wondered how a police sketch is put together? Well, we were wondering that too. That's why today we're visiting the Saskatoon Police Service and Sergeant Terry Lafferty.
What did this person look like?
Like I said, it was a woman. She's probably about my age, perhaps younger.
If you could just go through and when you see something that stands out as similar to that person, what you remember, just let me know and we'll make a note of it. And
okay. She's got that like angular, like the chin is pretty good.
You have to remember, these sketches are not for people that have never left their house and never encountered anybody.
Yeah.
Sketches are for either police officers, friends and family of the suspect, really,
yeah.
or acquaintances, people that know them. That's how we do it. It's all you're not likely going to, and it's very rare that you would walk down the street and walk past somebody that you saw in the sketch. That's
right.
Really, people are expecting to match a photo with a photo. Sketch, it's just an enhancement of some certain characteristics where a friend's going to go, you know, that guy kind of has the same this as little Joey or whatever. Well, I'll show you what I have so far, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So right off the top, what do you like and what would you like to change?
I feel like her face needs to be thinner,
Sure.
is my first reaction.
Okay.
Around here, like I feel it could even come up as
Sure.
far as that. It's our meteorologist,
Oh,
Christy
that's hilarious.
Kleimenhaga. The funny thing for me, when I went back and I looked at this, I got her outfit completely wrong. So imagine just being that person who you're describing someone who you saw briefly, perhaps in a traumatic event.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just describing someone who was on my news last night.
A Hamilton, Ontario man is hoping to catch the attention of commuters. That's where this costume comes in. Now, in case it's not clear, and it very well may not be, he's dressed as a radish. And it's something that he breaks out each time he hits his donation goal, all part of an effort to raise money for a local food bank. Intriguing idea, so we tagged along one day for his commute, and that is our moment of the day.
Why are you a radish?
I thought a radish was a little sillier, more ridiculous, so people might ask a few more questions. And radishes are a bit spicy, right?
Gotta be a story.
There is a story. Absolutely, there's a story. I'm raising money for North York Harvest Food Bank. I'm the chair of the board, and I said that for every $1,000 I raise, I would commute for an entire day from Hamilton to Toronto, there and back, dressed as a radish. Most people play it cool. It is Toronto area, you know, people usually kind of look at me, you know, just kind of subtly. Morning.
Who's the best?
All basically.
Take donations.
Yep.
You're first.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Amazing. 1, 2, 3. It's $6,000 so far, so it's working.
Great.
So it's a lot of public time dressed as a big vegetable. I'll keep going as long as the support continues. If it's 100 days, I'll do 100 days. If you want to dress as a vegetable and spread the word, come join me on the Go Train.
Yeah, that is a lot of time spent in public dressed as a vegetable, but clearly for a good cause. And as you heard him say, I mean, he raised $6,000 so far, so that is 6 times that he's had to dress as a radish and hop on that train. And the funny part about this is apparently when he first had this idea, he thought, hey, maybe I'll have to do this once, maybe twice if I'm lucky, if I manage to raise $2,000, but he tripled that. And $6,000, by the way, he says goes quite a long way. That's about 18,000 meals. So, hey, good for him. That is The National for this August 3rd. Have a great night and a great weekend.